So we actually get some crazy news about before the Void Century in this chapter. Welcome back to the Straw Hat Duo. My name is Charlie. Today we are going over chapter 1065 of One Piece, titled The Six Faces of Vegapunk. And yes, we do actually get to meet the rest of the Vegapunk bodies. And it appears that they're actually connected. More than just in mind, they seem to have a linked metabolism of sorts. We start out the chapter with a view of Egghead Island, the actual egg on the island, and it looks like it's cracked open. You can see inside. We hear Zoro. He's like, yeah, I'm staying back on the ship. This is a government island. I don't trust it. He's like, yeah, I'm going to stay back just in case, you know, one of them gets caught or all of them get caught and somebody needs to bail them out. Ironic that it's Zoro doing that because he'd just get lost on the way. Then we see the ship with the Vega Force 1 behind it, and him and Brook are sitting there having some tea, drinking, just chatting. Interaction between Zoro and Brook. They both got bones. They both got swords. They both got hair. That's enough in common, right? But then Caribou comes out. And doesn't look like he broke out, but he's sitting there like pleading. He's like, hey, can I just get a moment of your time? I know I said, could you drop me off wherever, but this is a government island. Can we just postpone that till the next island and I'll get off your ship? And Zoro just kind of ignores what he says. Oh, hey, I heard you helped out the captain. I appreciate that. See you around. Bye. In other words, just get off. Good luck. Not my problem. Then we cut back over to Sanji's group. They're heading into the Vegapunk lab. They're all excited because they're going up an escalator. They've obviously never seen an escalator before. They're all like, what kind of steps or setup is this? These stairs are, you know, moving on their own, sprouting out of the ground, creating new, like an escalator. I'm sure you've been on an escalator and you'll get that idea. They kind of look at Vegapunk Lilith there and they're like, how is all this powered? How does this all work? She goes, well, you could say that the whole island runs on fire. And one of them says, well, yeah, doesn't that burn through a lot of natural resources? You know, kind of putting some realism into it with the energy crisis and all that good shit. She goes on, you know, only if there's something like the internal flame. You know, I wonder if she got her hands on the Marimara no Mi, what she would do with that. Because that would be a life. Actually, she could create like a seraphim or a number of seraphims with the Marimara no Mi fake fruit type thing. And she could power things like that. That would be an interesting idea. Maybe that's why they're aligned with the revolutionaries, because Sabo has the Marimara no Mi. I wonder if the Vegapunk sent somebody to Dressrosa for that tournament that Doflamingo put on. That's the part that Shada's in right now, actually. She's just about to finish up with the tournament and move on from there in the anime. So she's making some progress in the anime. Anyways, Vegapunk Lilith just kind of goes, yeah, if only there was such thing as an eternal flame. She's like, then I'd be able to make my very own sun. And then walks right through a wall. And the Straw Hats there are kind of confused. They're like, wait, she's going through a wall? Where'd she go? At this point, Lilith starts to get a call. He ends up running off. I guess Vegapunk Edison needed something. So she took off after him. The Straw Hats finally follow her through the wall, which is a door labeled main gate. And when they get through, they're kind of confused. They're like, oh, wow, that was weird. And then Usopp turns around. She kind of knocks on the door. He's like, it turned back into metal. I wonder how that works. They get in there. They're like, oh, so this is the lab. And they start to question, you know, where did Lilith go? She just disappeared. She ran off. And they're looking around. They hear over the intercom, y'all could keep going dead ahead. I guess this Vegapunk, it's Vegapunk Edison. I guess he speaks in a heavy Kansai accent. I don't know what that is. I'm not a native to Japan, so, you know, different accents. It's like here in America, you have southern, northern, midwestern accents. Everywhere has accents. Not everybody knows the difference between them. Anyways, Vegapunk Edison goes, I'm Vegapunk Edison now. Hi, but keep on walking forward. Like I said, yeah, keep going. At this point, they walk forward and they see something that's labeled Seraphim 04. And above it says 098. So, interesting. Oh, 90. Okay, it says 98%. I almost missed that. So this Seraphim isn't quite finished, it seems. It's only 2% off, but isn't quite finished. I'll have to keep an eye on that. See if maybe it shows that, again, it says 100% or not. That'd be interesting to know. Anyways, Nami doing her normal thing. She's like, yeah, let's look for some future treasure. And Usopp's like what? I mean, what would future treasure be? And Nami has a very weirdly specific fantasy, and Usopp points this out. She's like, like a flower made entirely out of exquisite antique gems. Usopp's like, okay. I can't tell if your taste is closer to a little girl or an old hag. And in the next scene, Nami kicks Usopp in the side ribs kind of area. They're naming out future kick because the future boots, you know, they notice the Seraphim, and it looks just like a kid Jinbei, but with dark skin, wings, and flame on his back, like a Lunarian. And it has white hair, it seems. It also says PX on the chest, which is kind of a giveaway for what Frankie says here in a little bit. But Frankie first goes, Jinbei? And Robin's like, I don't think that's him. Looks a little bit too young. Usopp's like, well, I would guess, he's his son. Nami's like, yeah, but what if Jinbei was somehow turned into a kid? Ironically, because that is what happened. Jinbei was turned into a kid. Sanji's like, nah, I'm going with option 3. It's a coincidence. I mean, kid's got wings. Although, there's something ominous in the air about him. So at this point, the Seraphim Jinbei stands up and gets in fighting pose. And they realize at this point that he's just as big as the regular Jinbei. Even though he's a kid, he's just as big as what Jinbei would be. Frankie at this point goes, I've got a bad feeling there's a 4th possibility. He's a pacifista. And at that point, the Seraphim Jinbei launches a laser beam right at him. They all manage to dodge out of the way, but Usopp at this point, he's like, this was all one big trap. They work for the government. We should have known, they're here to capture us. Nami kind of stands up and goes, wait, does that mean they're using a clone of Jinbei as a soldier? She's like, I don't really want to fight him. He's still a kid. The Seraphim locks on to Nami right then and dives into the ground. Ironically, Frankie realizes this and goes, wait, I know that ability. It's Senor Pink's ability, which ironically, Shayna is probably around 20-30 chapters away from seeing that fight. That's kind of funny how things line up like that. But they all freak out, and Zeus says, should I pop out and help Nami? And right as he says that, and Frankie goes, wait, I know that ability. Jinbei pops out at lightning speed and grabs Nami by the throat. And you see the star in his eye at this point, and a vein popping out of his head. So he's trying to kill Nami right here. When this happens, Robin and Sanji go into full protect mode. Sanji's like, I don't care what your deal is, but you just signed your own death warrant. Whether you're Jinbei or not, you're going down. And uses the Diablo Jambe on him, immediately kicking him right off of Nami. Robin uses her giant form and goes, Gigante Fleur, adds on, what he said. That was unforgivable. And then uses Sea Serpent, which is kind of like Gamu Gamu Gatlin, honestly. But she's sitting there using that, and Jinbei pretty much just dives right into the ground, which he's got the swim fruit, so he can swim through concrete. And her hands hit nothing but, like water goo material. He pops out and starts to use the Fishman Karate with the ground, using the water type move. And Usopp's like, hey, get out of there, Robin, and uses the lethal green star skull exploding grass. So he thinks that it hits Jinbei, but Jinbei kind of, I guess, avoids it. He mentions there, he's like, I know this isn't Jinbei, but it still feels a little messed up. Then he notices, oh wait, he's gone. Jinbei then pops out of what looks like a wall behind Usopp, grabs him. Sanji starts to rush towards him, and Frankie's like, you know what, I've had enough of this. Sanji, don't worry about it. Usopp, don't move, and uses Radical Beam on the Seraphim. And you hear over the intercom, right as this is happening, watch it, Shark. And we see a little robot kind of looking shocked. Then we see inside like a control room, there's a little robot looking at a screen. He's like, he just used a beam. Who is that guy? Who in tarnation is this guy? It looks like he's sweating. He's got like, he looks like a robot Stewie from Family Guy, to be completely honest. That's the best way I can explain it. A robot ninja Stewie from Family Guy. So that's what he looks like. But that's Vegapunk Edison. He's like, this is getting a little risky. The Seraphim's still just a kid. We don't put it through a laser test till later. So there's a test that they go through. Lilith is there. She's like, you said it. Does he have the faintest idea how much one of these costs? I'll rip his head off. Edison's like, yeah, don't, I wouldn't go that far. And then he's like, don't you think that's a bit too evil? And then the light bulb goes off over his head, and he's like, oh, Eureka, I just thought of a new invention, and runs off and starts to write a bunch of stuff down. He's like, I'll even, my hands are always so full. At this point, I'd even take help from the cat. And a little cat in a uniform follows behind him going meow. And ironically, what I thought about at this point was the joke of when, what's his name? Giraffe Dude was talking to Lucci on the way to the island. Kaku? Yeah, I think his name is Kaku. He made a joke. He's like, they say Vegapunk's so busy, he'd even take the cat's help. Making a joke with Lucci because he's got the leopard fruit, I think it is. And meanwhile, Vegapunk's here with a cat. actually taking help from the cat. Paragathus, the other Vegapunk, Edison's like, hey, I'll leave the rest of the note-taking to you, Paragathus. You take care of it. You know, I just gotta jot down the blueprints right away. My hands are always so full. Paragathus is like, yeah. You don't come across rich battle data like this every day. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Starts taking down all the notes. We see Edison sitting there just jotting a bunch of stuff down. Papers going flying. He's like, hey, York, be a doll and eat something for me. And we see Vegapunk York at this point, which I believe totals out all of them except for Shaka. We'll see Shaka. I think it's Shaka. We'll see Shaka a little bit later on. We see York just sitting there, and she's the glutton. She's sitting there eating, shoving her face full, just chowing down. Once she starts finishing eating, we see all of the Vegapunks sitting there. She's like, that was good. Yeah. So they can taste what she eats, and then right after that, it looks like Vegapunk Paragathus, his head like pops out, and it's revealed that the body was just a big robot. Looks like he's just a little tiny ball robot. Pops out. He's like, I gotta go to the toilet. I'd go myself, but I can't afford to waste any time. And so York kind of goes off to the toilet, uses the toilet, and you see her walking back with a big smile on her face. She's not fat anymore. She just got rid of all the extra weight. She's just smiling. But at this point, we see all the Vegapunks go, I gotta punch something to digest. And the other two are going, that hit the spot. At this point, Vegapunk York lays down and goes to sleep, resting for the rest of the Vegapunks. And we see something here. It says, Dr. York's on today's 4th SDN cycle. And in parentheses, snack, dump, nap. Doesn't sound like such a bad schedule to be on. So we see all the Vegapunks and their assistants running back and forth, getting things together. And then we see Vegapunk Shaka pop out of a room and stop the fight between the Straw Hats and the Seraphim. And all of them just freeze. They can't move. Their boots end up being magnetized to the floor, so they're stuck where they are. They can't do anything. He pops out, says, that's enough, Seraphim, return. They all kind of go, I can't move. What's going on? Shaka goes, Edison, Lilith, Paragathus, you three have had your fill too, right? And they're like, what a shame. Looks like Lilith goes, of course, that scoundrel butts in when things are finally getting good. Sanji at this point questions Shaka. He's like, hey, who are you? He goes, I'm Vegapunk Shaka. You must be the Straw Hat Pirates. And Sanji's like, yeah, so what's up with the boots? I can't move. Shaka's like, yeah, I'm not dumb. You're pirates. I'm going to protect myself. He pretty much magnetized them to the floor, and Straw Hats are kind of questioning. They're like, hey, wait, we've already met 2 Vegapunks, and that woman on the speaker says she's another one. Shaka's like, yeah, but I'm also another one. Usopp at this point, he butts in. He's like whispering. He's like, oh yeah, did I forget to mention? I'm Vegapunk too. Frankie's like, would you cut it out? And at this point, Shaka goes, do you think this island looks like the island of the future? Frankie goes, yeah, of course, it's beyond the future. Look at all the stuff that's here. Moving stairs, a giant robot. He hasn't seen it, but lightsabers. He's like, this place is very, very futuristic. I've never seen anything like it. Shaka goes, actually, it's not quite right. This is actually an island of the past. And Frankie at this point, he's like, wait, what? We cut over to Luffy's group for 4 panels. We see them, they've all been transformed back into their normal ages. So that's good. But they're still in the junk heap, and Luffy's like, hey, check it out. That thing, it's all rusted and stuff, so it can't be a hologram. Bonnie's like, what could that be? How could that be piloted? Jinbei's like, if it could, how is that level of tech possible for something so ancient looking? At this point, we cut back over to Vegapunk Shaka for just a scene, and we see Frankie in the background. He's like, what do you mean by past? Shaka's like, well, what if I was to tell you that a long time ago, there was once a highly advanced kingdom, not unlike Egghead when it comes to technology. And at this point, we switch back over to the Straw Hat, to Luffy's group, and they're standing in front of an Oars-sized machine. Like, this thing is the size of probably Oars Jr. and same general head shape. Actually, same body shape, too. And it looks like it's got a little sword sticking through it, but it's all rusted, decayed, and just crumbled over in the junk heap. So, actually, all of the technology in the junk heap could be from that old civilization. So that lightsaber might not have been Vegapunk's invention. Interesting. We hear the voiceover of Shaka. Obviously, the Luffy's group isn't hearing this. Frankie and Sanji's group is. But Shaka continues, not unlike Egghead when it comes to technology. A civilization from 900 years ago. Would you believe me? And we don't see who says it. Probably Frankie. He goes, 900 years ago? And that's the end of the chapter. And so the narrator comes over. What was the world like before? We finally get some information from before the Void Century. So the Void Century, the war went crazy, probably ancient giants, giant robots. It was just super technologically advanced. Then the world government took over and all that got, dropped off the wayside. So definitely a very interesting chapter. Reading it felt like a very short chapter. There's a lot of action in it between the Jinbei Seraphim named Sharky and Sanji's group, but that was honestly like 10 exchanges of hits. That didn't last very long. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where we go to next. I don't believe there's a break next week. No, it doesn't say anything on here. But I don't believe there is a break next week. So we'll probably get some sort of an update. We might see the CP0 arrive on the island, honestly. That'd probably be the best next progression. It would force the Straw Hats to want to have to meet up and create conflict between them meeting up. So that's my guess on what's going to happen next. I don't think we're going to get an update on Law just yet. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought of this chapter, and let me know what you think is going to happen next. We could even get an update from the Revolutionaries and Kuma and Sabo. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of possibilities on what could happen at this point. Let me know what you guys think, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.